I've updated my battery system on the boat now. I've installed a lithium iron phosphate battery, 100 ampere hours, to increase the capacity. Its function is for domestic use, and at the moment it's now switched over to LifePO, and I have the Webasto heater on, and she's just drawing some amps. I started thinking about this at the start of the year. Usually the best way for me to think things through is to make a small little rough hand sketch. So what we have here is the existing engine battery, 2 domestic leisure batteries. The engine start battery came up to its own isolating switch here, and the deep cycle came up to the standard changeover, you know, 1, 2, both are off, and the arrangement at the moment is that will go down and link into the large lug on the output of this isolator, and that will go way off then for starter and alternator and all that carry on. But what used to happen is, from here, that used to go straight up to the distribution panel to supply fridge, heating, lights and all that stuff. So I had spent quite a bit of money over the last 5 years replacing all the heavy cables from the batteries and replacing all these switches. You know, they were there 25-30 years, so I decided to replace them all. So I didn't want to be undoing all that work and that cost. So I thought about it and then decided to put in just a changeover switch here. It turned out I picked a Blue Sea 1-2. So now, instead of the existing installation going straight up to the distribution panel, it goes into one of the connections here on this changeover switch, and the new lithium iron phosphate battery goes into the other, and the outlet of this changeover switch then feeds the electrical distribution. So when we're normally underway, it will just be the existing system will still be working. When we go to anchor and when I want that bit of extra energy, I'll switch over to the lithium iron phosphate. To charge, I started looking at, I said, right, I'll have to get a charging to come off the existing 12 volt DC 6 charging, so that would charge it. I also have existing solar that used to go down to the both leisure batteries, so I branched off one of those from the changeover switch that I have to now charge the lithium iron phosphate. So that's it. I kept it simple, maintained the existing arrangement, just put in as I say, a Blue Sea switch and a means of charging, and also using the solar, but it did mean I had to put in an MPPT controller that had the option for lithium iron phosphate. Bit dark here now, the winter cover is still on, but hopefully we can see what we did. This here is the Blue Sea changeover switch. The lighting isn't great here now, but this side here goes to the LifePO, and that side, when switched to that location, it will go to the existing lead acid system, and there's the leisure battery changeover, and that one there is the engine battery isolator with the key taken out at the moment. So that was quite a neat little installation. Now I had to recess this in, and I'll have to dress that up later, because you can see this is quite thick, and I had to go in so that the lugs at the back will be clear of the timber. The only other change is this here, the Alta Solar solar charge controller, which you can change the modes. You can do basically lead acid, AGM and LifePO. So I took out the existing charge controller, which only did the lead acid, and put this fella in. Now it's a 10 amp, but I only have a 50 watt solar panel, so the most with MPPT I would expect to get out of that panel under good conditions would be 3 amps. Now I located the 100 ampere hour battery in behind the seating here in the saloon. I have that out for the moment just to make it easier to install, but that does hinge up so I can get access to this all the time. And it was very handy to run the positive and negative and the solar cables just through the bulkhead and at the back here engine console, and of course you have the main distribution panel. So the running and wiring was quite straightforward and handy enough. I had to cut in here to allow this to fit down. These straps, of course, their brackets come with them, and that's fastened down to the floor. And I just put in an extra one here, even though it's not needed. But so she's not going anywhere. I added another cigarette socket outlet here to the side of the panel. This one is rated for 20 amps, and there's a short cable run into the panel. So that's where, when the engine is running, I will be charging the LifePO from that SIG socket. I've started the engine now, so starter battery has been charged from the engine, and I've changed over the switch, so everything now is coming off the existing installation, and this is normally how I would start up and head out to sea. So this will be the arrangement. Soon we're underway now, heading on some adventurous voyage. The main batteries, starter and leisure batteries, are topped up, which I would say normally we'd just be at the mouth of the harbour and they'd be topped up. There'll be small demand for instruments and that. Then I just plug in this 7 ampere hour lithium ion charger, and that goes straight down, and I have this section here ready to just connect into the battery. So I'll leave that there and just quickly connect in. The seat cover will be down, there'll be no issue there, it'll be nice and tidy, and she'll be charging away. Yeah, the LifePO is being charged by 6.8 amps, which is usually what that 7 ampere hour charger will do, normally around 90 watts. So while we're underway and the engine has been run, that's how we top up the 100 ampere hour LifePO, between that and if there's any bit of solar on a sunny day. And then when we go to anchor, we'll use her for the fridge. We're heating, which there shouldn't be much in the summer cruises, lighting and stuff, charging phones and that. My usage is not that massive. I'd imagine, what, 25-30 ampere hours overnight at anchorage. So yeah, it should be well sufficient. And of course I have the leisure batteries as a backup if need be. Because I was finding an issue the last couple of seasons where 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning I'd be woken up out of my slumbers with the fridge cycling on and off, because the leisure would be going down. So sort of 12 volts, fridge would knock out, the chemistry of the lead acid then would bring it back up probably to 12.3, fridge would cut in again, draw it down. So normally I had to get up and too early to start the engine, so I usually switch off the fridge. But the discharge profile of these stays well up above 13 volts till nearly down to 10%, so I would imagine that issue should be solved. I've just pulled back the winter cover there now for a while, just so that I can test the solar charge control. There's not much, it's cloudy, but just to prove the concept, can I see if she's there's a smidgen, about half an amp going in. But to cover those occasions where I'm tied up to shore power, I have purchased one of those AC to DC converters. this little fella here, so I can just plug it in and again connect it into the charger and charge the battery. The arrangement to cover those situations where we're tied up alongside the marina and there's shore power. I just want to put that bit into the lithium iron phosphate battery via the charger. So you can now see that the bit of solar is helping the charging. It's not much, it's about half an amp or so. Yeah, it's cloudy out, so on a sunny day it'll be better, and of course it's late afternoon, so the sun is going down this time of the year, short days. But yeah, that's all the options. The charger and the converter store away handy enough in that container, so everything is there ready for use whenever needed. So that's my arrangement. I'm what you'd call a leisure sailor, is it? Fortnight's cruise in the summer and a couple of weekends away. Usually that's in company with other boats, and we tend to end up in most of the time end up in the marina so we can go for a meal in the pub. So for those who are long distance cruisers or liveaboards, this is probably too basic a system. They'll probably go for the DC to DC converter arrangements. But I wanted to keep this simple, be able to take the battery and chargers and that home in the off season, or if there's a power outage or that, I can take it away. So I'm keeping it simple. So maybe for somebody who's got a similar cruising boat usage like myself, might find this of some use. So I'll wrap up at that. Bye for now. Slán leat go fóill.